Just a girl. How are you, honey?
Do you know where your buddy is?
Charlie?
Yes.
He shot him.
The woman you see here is 30-year-old Kayla Brown. For the past 65 days, she has been held captive by a serial killer.
A woman who's been missing for more than 2 months has just been found.
She was locked up in this metal container and it was in dark almost the entire time.
There was a chain from the top of the cage to something else that went around her neck.
He let me know that I was his property and that I'd never go anywhere, and if I fought back, he would kill me.
Kidnapped, assaulted, chained up, and left for dead, Kayla Brown became the latest victim of a notorious serial killer. But she survived, remembering every detail and making sure she put an end to her captor's reign of terror.
He said he was going to kill more people because he had dreams of his body count being in 3 digits.
What you're talking about is a budding psychopath.
My kill game is good.
No matter what he did to me, he did not break me. He cannot destroy who I am, and I won.
In the small town of Moore, South Carolina, Kayla Brown lives a happy life with her boyfriend, Charlie Carver. Charlie operates as a printer at a local business, and Kayla works as a part-time cleaner. Since they met, they felt a deep connection, a bond that only grew stronger with time.
They had a love that went beyond anything superficial.
But on August 31st, 2016, their lives took a disturbing turn for the worse when the two of them go missing without a clue.
This bizarre and frightening story began last Labor Day weekend. 30-year-old Kayla Brown and her 32-year-old boyfriend, Charles David Carver, went missing near Spartanburg.
Just a few days after the couple is reported missing, detectives start noticing something strange on Kayla and Charlie's Facebook pages. Someone is leaving mysterious messages, claiming that the couple has gotten married, bought a house, and that everything is perfectly fine. But the whole thing feels off.
After searching for her for 2 months, handing out flyers, doing everything we could do, my friends would ask me, do you think Kayla is dead? And I would tell them, unfortunately, I think there's a 99.9% chance that she probably is.
But on November 3rd, detectives make a breakthrough. They secure a search warrant to examine Kayla's Facebook page, and that's where they stumble upon a message she sent to Charlie, mentioning someone named Todd Kohlhepp. They then dig into the phone records. It turns out, one of the last signals from their phones is traced to a location owned by Todd. Everything seems to lead to a 99-acre property that he owns. With a warrant in hand, the deputies start searching the area. That's when they hear a woman's voice screaming from a container on the property. Coming closer, they are shocked by what they see.
We can hear the girl yelling for help inside this container. I said, get that lady out. I don't care what you have to do.
Yes.
Pull that one first. All right, let them get ready.
Everybody.
Come on, guys.
Watch out. Y'all move. Just a girl. How are you, honey? This is bolt cutters. This is our best. He's a paramedic. Oh yeah. Okay.
Do you know where your buddy is?
Charlie?
Yes.
He shot him.
He shot him.
Who did?
Douche.
Todd Kohlhepp shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again.
Okay.
He says he's dead and buried. He says there's several bodies dead and buried out here.
We're gonna step you up, sweet. Because there's what?
Red pepper.
Okay.
Tell the dog people that.
He says
No,
there's pepper everywhere around the car and the person.
Finally rescued, Kayla starts telling the officers about the man that was behind her abduction. It's 44-year-old Todd Kohlhepp.
She told the police that she saw Todd Kohlhepp shoot her boyfriend, Charlie Carver.
Following this, the police officers immediately arrest Todd Kohlhepp at his property.
While we were here, all right, my sergeant served a search warrant on your property. Okay? We have Kayla.
Excuse me?
We have Kayla in your property. She was locked in a container. Okay? She has told us that you shot and killed Charlie. Okay? So at this time, I'm going to need you to stand up and put your hands behind your back.
He's already here.
He's already come. Okay. You're under arrest right now for kidnapping.
As detectives press Todd about the details of the abduction and whereabouts of Charlie Carver's body, Todd claims he doesn't know what they're talking about. While they're talking to him in the house, the other police officers begin searching the property for any clues that could tie Todd to the murder.
We have investigators. We have like 20 investigators on your property right now. And they have found her in the Connex box. So she never left your property. Okay, you locked her in the Connex box, and she has told investigators that you shot and killed Charlie. Okay, so I'm trying to give you an opportunity to help yourself and help us, help you find this body. Because she's saying Charlie's body, you buried Charlie's body on that property. So you're saying you didn't lock her up, you didn't put her in the Connex box or anything?
Todd still claims he doesn't have a clue what the detectives are talking about. He keeps his mouth shut and proceeds to ask for an attorney. Following this, he's taken to the police headquarters for further interrogation. There, he tells the sheriff he's willing to confess to everything if the sheriff can do a little favor for him.
She said, would you please take a special picture to my mom? And he said, can I talk to my mom before anything starts being said? I said, yes, that's fine.
As his mother comes to the police station, her son starts telling her all the horrors he had done. He has an eager desire that his mother find out all this from him first.
I'm sorry, Mom. His eyes looked horrible. They were bulging out of his face, and they were red. Todd is not a monster. He's never been a monster. He's not even close to it. He did some bad things, but a monster? He wasn't doing it for enjoyment. He was doing it because he was mad and he was hurt.
Following the talk with his mother, Todd is ready to confess everything to the sheriff. He starts by saying that from a young age, he was a troubled kid. He often fought with other kids, ruining their school projects. He once used a BB gun on a dog and poured bleach on a goldfish.
What you're talking about is a budding psychopath with antisocial personality characteristics, narcissism. He was impulsive. He thought his needs and wants were more important than everybody else's.
In Arizona, a neighbor referred to him as a devil on a chain. He went so far as to trap her son in a dog cage, rolling it across the ground before smashing the boy's head against clay pipes. All the while, Todd Kohlhepp was just laughing.
Psychopaths do not just arrive as adults. They demonstrate behaviors in their childhoods and especially in their teen years, and he showed all of that.
But on November 25th, 1986, Todd did something that would put him in jail for the first time. That day, the Tempe Police Department received a disturbing 911 call from a young boy, claiming his sister went missing. As a police officer arrived at the house and started taking statements, a young girl approached her.
While I was talking to the kids, trying to get some more information, the victim walked in through her back door and was clearly shaken and said, "I need to talk to you."
She told her that several hours ago, her 15-year-old neighbor, Todd Kohlhepp, came to her house. Luring her outside, the victim didn't know what was about to happen.
So once he got her out in the alley, he put a gun to her head and he walked her back down around this direction to his home. And while he was walking, he actually pulled the trigger and the gun misfired.
Following this, they arrived at Todd's house. With his father not around, Todd dragged her into his room, binding her hands with rope and sealing her mouth with duct tape. Consequently, he laid a knife beside her and sexually assaulted her. After the police officer heard the victim's story, she called for backup and headed to Todd's house.
He asked me two questions. One was, what's going to happen to me? The other question was, how much am I going to get?
Facing adult charges, he admitted his guilt in a kidnapping case. As a result, the sexual assault charge was dismissed. Following this, he served 14 years in an Arizona prison. After his release, he returned to South Carolina. This was where he would continue his rampage. Besides Kayla Brown's abduction and Charlie Carter's murder, Todd is responsible for one of the most notorious unsolved mass murders in South Carolina history. For over 10 years, the police weren't able to solve this horrific crime, and for all that time, they had another prime suspect, Melissa Ponder.
It's still sometimes hard for me to believe that this is my story. This is my late husband's story. I was polygraphed, and I was asked the very serious questions of, did you kill your husband, Scott Ponder? Did you plan the murder of your husband, Scott Ponder?
It all started on a November morning in 2003. Melissa's husband, Scott Ponder, was getting ready for work. Scott worked at their family business, a motorsports dealership. As he left for work, Melissa didn't know that this was the last time she was going to see her husband. Later that day, Scott picked up the phone to call to see how things were going at home. 3 hours later, the South Carolina Emergency Center received this disturbing 911 call.
Okay, what's the problem? Apparently everybody's been shot up here. Everybody's laying down in a pool of blood. His mama's been shot, the mechanic's been shot, and the owner.
In under 30 seconds, 4 men were murdered in the shop. At the start of the investigation, a witness shared that they saw a man in the bike shop shortly before the tragic events took place. The police found it odd that nothing appeared to be missing from the shop, making it clear this wasn't just a robbery gone wrong. After months of extensive investigation, the police didn't seem to be making any progress. 13 years later, Todd Kohlhepp is ready to tell detectives everything about the case.
And I shot her 2 to 3 times in the chest. Not my best work.
Todd tells them that in 2003, he decided to buy a motorcycle. In April that year, he went to Superbike Motorsports in Chesney, South Carolina, and bought his first bike for $9,000.
I bought a motorcycle from them.
What kind of motorcycle?
It was a Suzuki GSX-R 750.
A few days later, Todd realized that the bike was too strong for a beginner like him. That's when he came back and asked the store manager if he could return or exchange his bike for a smaller one.
You said you went back to them?
Before it got stolen, I had gone back to them a few days prior to being stolen and told them that I was having a hard time riding it, and I was not so sure I had made a wise decision.
The motorsports staff laughed at Todd for not being able to ride a bike and refused an exchange. 3 days later, the bike was stolen, and Todd was sure the motorsports staff stole it, even though there was no evidence supporting this. After this, Todd continued to keep coming to the store.
Got mad about it, kept going out there. Why I kept going to the same bike place, I don't really know. But I'd go out there, sit on the bikes, and listen to these two talk shit.
During one visit, Todd decided to buy a new Kawasaki bike. As the mechanic took the bike to the back to prepare for the sale, Todd pulled out a gun and started his murder spree.
That was one big building. Yeah. I cleared it in under 30 seconds.
You what now?
I cleared that building in under 30 seconds. You guys would have been proud. I'm sorry, but you guys would have been proud. Shot the mechanic twice. Downward angle.
Following Todd's confession, Kayla is interviewed and shares her horrific story of 65 days of living hell. On August 31st, 2016, Kayla and her boyfriend Charlie went to Kohlhepp's property to do some work for him.
Yes, we went to his house to pick up keys, and he actually took us to the property this time instead of just giving us the GPS address because it was his personal property, and he said he had to unlock the fence for us.
In that moment, Kayla saw a 2-story structure. Nearby, there was a quaint garden shed and a massive storage container. As they approached the gate, Todd stepped out, moved the lock, and drove past the fence. As they followed him and entered the property, Todd locked the fence again.
And it didn't seem odd then. I figured maybe he had animals out there or something, but I didn't know why. And it didn't seem like a big deal. He told me it was a farm. But now thinking back, well, I mean, why did he lock the gate back?
When they entered the garage, he explained that he needed them to clear some overgrown underbrush along the trails he recently created.
He gave us both a bottle of water. He gave us both some hedge clippers, and he said he was going to take us and show us what trail he wanted us to start on. And then we walked out the door, and he said that he needed to go back in and get something.
At the time, Kayla didn't think much of it, but the moments that followed would start her 65 days of living hell.
We were standing there, and I look up, and I didn't realize what was going on at the time, but he walked out, and he had the gun in his hand, and he pretty much shot Charlie before he ever even made it completely out the door. And then I got lost. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there.
Just a split second, your whole world's just turned completely upside down.
After Kohlhepp shot Charlie 3 times in the chest, he threatened Kayla to come inside or she would soon be joining her dead boyfriend. She remembers him being utterly composed, entirely calm, as if nothing unusual has taken place. There wasn't any anger, no shouting or screaming. Following this, he put an arm around her neck.
I was in shock. I just went. He told me to go and told me to go or I could join Charlie, and I just went. I was numb. I couldn't think. I still hadn't comprehended what had happened.
As they came inside, Todd told Kayla to sit on the ground and proceeded to put handcuffs on her ankles and a ball gag in her mouth. That's when he locked her and went to take care of Charlie's body.
He went and wrapped him up, and he was wrapped up when I went back out, when I was taken out back out of the building in a blue tarp.
In these moments, Kayla was still in shock and couldn't believe what she was going through. As Todd got rid of Charlie's body, he took Kayla to a storage container and locked her inside. Little did she realize, she would spend the next 65 days inside.
It was pitch black, but he had a flashlight and he had a lot of shelving with like dried food and rations and stuff, and like lots of bottles of water.
My ankles were cuffed, my hands were cuffed behind my back, and I had a chain around my neck. I didn't really even move the first week or so I was there.
And Todd said to her, Kayla, if you try to escape, you're going directly into one of those graves.
As she laid in the container all day, Todd would come to see her every afternoon, take her to the main house, give her some food, and make Kayla do whatever he wanted. Then he would take her back to the container, where he would chain her up to the wall again. He would come back around 7 p.m. and repeat everything.
If I said no, he didn't force himself on me because he said he didn't believe in rape, but he made it very well known why I was there, and if I wasn't useful, that I wouldn't need to be kept any longer, and that he would shoot me.
As the days went by, Todd would show his narcissistic behavior to Kayla. He even bragged about how many people he has killed so far.
He liked to brag that he was a serial killer and a mass murderer. He said he was going to kill more people because he had dreams of his body count being in 3 digits. He said right now it was still high 2 digits.
Todd told her that he used to murder people for the government and that he would be paid for it. He told her that he liked to kill bad people, including drug dealers.
He said if I was a good girl, he'd teach me how to kill and I could be his partner.
But then, 65 days after she was kidnapped, the officers arrived at Todd's property, searching for Kayla. As they came closer to the container, Kayla heard banging on the door, but she just thought Todd came early that day.
And then I heard somebody's voice, and I couldn't say anything. I couldn't breathe. Like, I panicked because he said if I ever heard someone outside, I made noise, he'd kill us both. And I didn't know what to do.
Finally, after some time, Kayla heard a bunch of people calling her name. That's when she realized that somebody was there to rescue her. Immediately, she started screaming for help.
I don't remember, it was just voices. It was just voices outside talking. They were saying that we need to check for her in the other buildings. Yeah, I started screaming and hitting the walls, and somebody came up and like asked if I was in there, and I said yeah, and they're like, well, we're gonna get you out. And then I just waited.
Yes. Pull that one first. All right, let them get ready. Y'all ready? Come on, guys. Back. Just jammed in here.
In those moments, Kayla became emotional. Even though she knew her family would never stop looking for her, she feared that the day of her rescue would never come. As the police officers opened the door and entered the container, she finally felt relieved.
It felt like a weight had been lifted, and I was crying, and they were holding me, and the sheriff prayed with me. The calm just washed over me. I was just there. I was free, and I was just ready to get off that property. They asked me if they could get me anything else, and I told them to get Charlie off that property. Don't leave without him.
Following Kohlhepp's arrest, investigators in Spartanburg County stumble upon a series of odd, humorous-sounding product reviews on Amazon.com. The reviews were for items like padlocks, shovels, tasers, and gun accessories, all penned by a user who went by the name Me. One review for a padlock mentioned, "Solid locks, have 5 on a shipping container, won't stop them, but sure will slow them down till they are too old to care." Another review for a folding shovel said, "Keep in car for when you have to hide the bodies and you left the full-size shovel at home. Does not come with a midget, which would have been nice." The wish list connected to the account was under the name Todd Kohlhepp. Knowing the whole story, Todd's mother Regina is asked how she feels after her son told her everything.
Todd is someone who stays to himself pretty much. He's a loner. You know, it's easy for him to entertain himself.
After telling you that he killed 7 people, what did you say to him?
How could you do this? Because I didn't understand.
Todd told her that the reason he killed all these people was because they treated him badly.
And it was all because the people were mean to him?
They embarrassed him.
And so he killed them.
They embarrassed him. And you know, anybody, I don't care who you are, and whether you have a temper or you don't have a temper, nobody wants to be embarrassed.
Following this, Kohlhepp is charged with 4 counts of murder linked to the Chesney shootings and a kidnapping charge connected to Brown's abduction. Soon after, authorities add 3 more murder charges to his record for the killings of Carver and the Coxies.
Now the people that understand him and know him now just don't understand that Todd could do this. This is not the man they know.
Finally, almost a year after Kayla's rescue, on May 26, 2017, Kohlhepp admits guilt to 7 murders, 2 kidnappings, and 1 criminal sexual assault. He was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences with no chance of parole. He is currently imprisoned at Broad River Correctional Institution.